Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a special guest for you guys, Dr. Chris Dale. Chris and I have a workshop coming up, Unlocking Acceleration, and I've been in Brisbane for the last couple of days. We had some athletes compete yesterday, and one of the things to tick off was the very special Keiser tour.
Yep.
Which we've
just done.
So you just quickly introduce yourself to my subscribers so they know who you are and what we're doing here.
Yeah, so well, my name's Chris. I'm an osteopath registered in Australia, but primarily I guess I work as a sprint, speed and power or S&C coach, mainly in track and field. I was lucky to have a couple of athletes qualify for the Paris Olympics last year. One of them making their semi-finals in the 400. So yeah, we're all about speed, power, and high level performance, and that's sort of what brought Brandon in today, because we've just got some brand new high performance equipment.
It's been amazing. So we've been sort of doing some sort of bootleg training with bands where we're trying to increase the speed of the eccentric, and then it's interesting because the last few months, obviously you ordered the Keiser. Did you order the Keiser before I met you?
No, we were thinking about doing it, but we ordered it in September or October.
So I think I went through a stage, I'll speak for myself, of like working out what does it do? Like, what does it do? How does it work? What is it meant to feel like? And then using the bands to just increase the speed of the eccentric. And then thinking, like, that's been very effective.
Yep.
And we had great results. Lots of people have adopted those things, banded back squats, and we've seen people use those things. And obviously, our seminar will detail why those things work. And then trying to understand how does the Keiser fit into all of that. And using it today, well, it's its own thing. It's its own thing.
Yeah, literally.
And there's no way that you can train at the same intensity. So we recently both listened to that Dennis Keiser podcast.
We did, yeah.
And so lots of people have spoken about Keiser. Obviously, you own it now, and you can say, I mean, you know what you've experienced with your athletes, and you're going to see how they're going to develop. But hearing Dennis Keiser talk about it, and he was saying how he developed it because he couldn't train a human any faster. What have been your observations in the last couple of weeks with it?
So we've been using it for three or 4 weeks, and not everything. We've built up, knowing the delivery date, we've built up to it. So we've been using the bands, and we've been training very similarly.
You've been training for it.
Yeah, we have.
In a way.
We have, in a way, yeah. So we've been trying to build up and progress the eccentric phase as best we can with what we've got available, which is, bands, boxes, changing tempos, things like that. But we've been using the belt squat, the standing squat, and honestly, like, our initial thoughts on how we would maybe integrate it and implement it, they're probably wrong. Yeah, definitely wrong. Like, it's its own thing, and it just allows you to train at such a high level.
I actually feel I've just done the calf, and my foot feels like it wants to do this.
Yeah.
It just feels so like poppy, springy. I don't know if that's the word. And it's almost given life to my.
It wakes it up.
Yeah.
And it's the tissue level, I think, and the neurological control of your tissue and your coordination. It just tightens everything up and allows you to just be this ball of elasticity and just explode.
It's phenomenal, and I think we'll go to the bands and then come back to the Keiser, because I think it'll help people understand it, because I think people are still skeptical about the bands, and then they're like, then to get to air is so many generations ahead as well. And to think this equipment was made in 1980, 1977, like, it's crazy. We're in 2025. We feel so behind in a way. It just makes you feel silly.
It's like people have these arguments online about mass training and like a set and rep structure or an exercise selection,
so stupid.
Or using a band or using a box, and it's like, how about we just debate the idea of using mass altogether, because like to answer your question from before, like that, either the last 3 or 4 weeks, just the improvement in peak power in some of the athletes, like in one of the athletes on the belt squat, was gone from a top set or top rep of 3,000 to nearly 4,000 in 3 weeks.
I almost feel like training has the only reason why people talk about those things, or like why our training's progressed so far, especially in the last year, is because we don't have that. We didn't have the air.
Yeah, we couldn't lean on it or
so
cheat.
we had to think about how to improve people without the air. But now that you have the air, it's almost like
it's come full circle, and it's just about peak power again.
I wonder if it stops the conversation on lots of things. It's like, I don't really care about that. Doesn't really matter. Just do this. And it'll be interesting to see what new questions come up. But so, yeah, I feel like we're getting further from the point of what I was saying earlier. But the speed of the eccentric on the band. So most people are, what you said about debating whether or not we should use mass training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So knowing that mass is poor for developing, unless you go slow, it's an effective tool to get strong, because you're not going to be subject to the changes of the mass, the changes in force.
The force,
You're going to experience constant force throughout that movement, throughout the range of motion, because you're moving so slowly. So when you're moving against gravity really fast, it's obviously going to unweight itself both up and down. So you're only experiencing high forces at some parts of the movement. And for adaptation, that's bad. You're only getting strong in certain phases. So people just have these weak points,
which you can easily cheat.
Yeah.
You can change the mechanics of the lift.
Yep.
You can do certain things to get over that little speed bump, but still have a fast lockout.
Yes.
But get a good metric.
Yes.
And, it's, as you've just found out, or we both found out on the belt squat today, you can't do that.
No.
Because I failed. I got stuck at the bottom and couldn't get up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's phenomenal. So then when transitioning away from, so then adding the bands in and then going, okay, well now we're going to make some of those areas that are normally easier, the sort of like the flat spots in the force profile, we can now lift those up just by thinking about whatever our minimum band tension is, and just imagining, okay, well as long as we're experiencing this amount of band tension, that's great. So at least we've got some constant resistance.
Yeah, at least a minimum of band tension. Yeah.
And it's still so little. Like we're talking 15 kilos aside at the bottom of a movement. So minimum 30 kilos of band tension. And then we just I did 230 on the standing squat. You can't, how can you...
You can't even describe what it feels like.
Well, but you can't replicate it at all.
You just can't.
So when you're trying to train someone, unless you... I think about with our Smith machine, we use a lot, obviously have to use a lot more mass, and it feels hard and it feels challenging, but I can only go to whatever it might be at the top. Might be like, say, 160 kilos or 180 kilos at the top, but at the bottom it's 125. It's not 230.
Is it?
And to get to 230, it's never going to happen. So to train it, and that's
because the forces that you experience at the bottom, they just destroy your spine.
Yes.
You just can't do it.
Yes. Yeah. So then it brings into question the injury prevention aspect of mass, and how it's it sounds like you're being trying to nocebo people, but it's when you go down really fast, a lot of these things can be quite intense. And we've had lots of success with our weightlifters just trying to speed up their eccentric on their squats, and just thinking, just keep progressing it like that. Just this is the technique that you're going to use because it's the best technique to use.
It's the most effective technique. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then thinking if we go really heavy or whatever, they tweak their lower back. There's no way that you touch wood, but the chance of someone getting hurt with that, there's no inertia.
Well, it's a lot unless you try and hinge a really heavy standing squat. It's very unlikely that it's unlikely you get hurt. You can still get hurt, but it's far less likely than it would be for just in a regular rack.
Yeah.
Just doing conventional training.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. So you've got obviously we've got our workshop coming up in 2 weeks now, which is going to be awesome. So you've got the track component of acceleration. I've got the gym component of acceleration, and we won't just tell people that they need to buy the Keiser, but what it's also allowed us to understand is, I think Keiser has previously been framed as a power or speed training tool, but it's really good strength training equipment.
Yeah,
and it's
I think first and foremost, it's a strength training equipment.
What Dennis said, strength at game speed. So just strength at velocity, and I think that's something people really struggle to understand is if I don't lift heavy, how does lifting what they would consider like medium loads in the force velocity curve. How does lifting medium help me increase strength? And it's like, well, there's the physiological mechanisms, there's the brain, there's the mechanisms that are behind the brain that govern your speed as well. So there's so much to it than just the bar,
and the load.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's the last thing.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see how your athletes take to it. And so you've had Reece on there, and then over the last few weeks, you've seen his progression just be exponential. And if you think about how which has been one of the things we've noticed with just not using as much mass has been, this is something I spoke about on Instagram, was just talking about how people respond so fast to banded training or less mass. And it's on crack when you do it with Keiser.
It's even faster. It's set to set. The changes are like, even this week with Reece on the belt squat, we started at, I think it was like 3,000 watts peak power for the best rep of the set. I think it was 3,000, 3,300, 3,600, 3,800.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's just like beat the score. I want you to hit this. And he can match that effort and then get the result. And it gives him some good feedback of, if I do X, I get Y. And it just supercharges that improvement curve, I think.
And where do you think, for you, what your interpretation of, where do you think that improvement's coming from? Do you think that's in the brain? Do you think that's
I think
tissue?
it's a few things. Like the biggest thing with him is that, as an individual, he's always had an issue going fast in the gym because of some injury history and some other ways that he's trained, or some of the methods of strength training have, it's been mass or bands and like just get sore back or joint problems. But now, especially in like an air belt squat, he's in a position where he's completely stable because he's hand supported. The loading is only on his pelvis, not on his back. He can literally go as fast as he humanly can, and he actually feels comfortable to do that. So now I think that's what's driving this short-term change.
You can release your brakes.
Exactly, there's no brakes, and you feel safe, you feel stable.
The neurological brakes. I found that with the Keiser, the standing squat, I was doing it, I think it was like halfway through my, I think you beat me at 100 or at 120.
And 120.
Well, I think you would have beat me anyway because I'm just slow. Yours are actually fast. But it was so interesting because as it was getting heavier, I was like, feeling like, okay, it's getting heavier, I definitely have to brace harder, but I didn't have to.
No.
And I think I was so worried to go into the bottom and be like, my spine's going to come out of my back. I'm going to do some sort of Mortal Kombat fatality when I hit the bottom, hit the stopper. That's what it felt like. And then, in my mind, but then doing it,
it just never happened.
No, and then I did the set and it was like, okay, I think I went from 2,700 to 3,200 and I just tried harder. I could actually train at a higher level. So to have a piece of equipment that does that, you're hacking everything.
So long term, it's going to be exciting, and I think that when we start to get into the training time where we're getting tissue change, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Sort of in that sort of 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 week mark.
Like most sort of studies that show tissue adapting at that 2 to 3 month mark. And we know how studies are, and if they're showing those sorts of results, you're
with an elite athlete who's just plastic as anything, it's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be phenomenal. So those are some developments at the Keiser Tour. The other thing is, so you've obviously got the seated calf. The seated calf is a really special piece of equipment that you purchased. What are your impressions on that? Because that's something that you've been tentative with your athletes on whether or not you want to use it because they have upcoming races. How do you see that being integrated into the program?
Well, I've used it personally, and you've used it today as well.
Yes. And Dr. Jess.
And Dr. Jess, she's used it as well, and it's her favourite machine. But if you just compare a conventional mass only seated calf to the Keiser seated calf, it's a different mechanism, because a traditional mass-based seated calf is you're pushing against the feet pads to lift everything up, where on the Keiser you're pushing the pedals down, and it's independent left and right. So there's two cylinders, you can move them independently.
Is there a way to see peak power left and right?
You can just do a one-legged rep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or the now discontinued computer interface, but
the Keiser Motec box.
Which we that is another avenue which you can use to look at.
I wonder if you can get it from somewhere else.
Maybe I'll have to chase it up with somebody else. But the going back to the machine, it's just, there's no way to cheat, just because of how you have to lock the pads into your legs and then bring the handles into lock it, and then the pedal will pre-tension to your leg length, and then as you increase the load, it'll dorsiflex your foot up to end range, so you have to push against it.
Yeah.
And there's, as we've already spoken about with all the other machines, there's no soft spots, there's no cheating. You have to push the hard all the way through, and then that's on the concentric. The eccentric phase on it is just, well, as you found out.
My calves were shuddering. Yeah. It was awful.
It's like a problem with your clutch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I drive a manual as well, so my left foot should be good. It does ISOs, it set of lights.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not doing anything.
It's not even the same.
No.
And you can lift a lot of plates on a seated calf, but getting up on that Keiser seated calf, it's very humbling.
Yeah, it's just takes training to a new level. I think the only way to describe it is just you're on another planet with it. You're experiencing gravity it's just pulling you down in every movement.
We're on a bigger planet.
Yeah, 100% Jupiter. So it's really exciting. And the last piece is the rack. So the rack is epic and allows you to obviously train the plyometrics as well. So I've got the Smith which is awesome for the plyos, and this is much the same with the rope that you can use. So there's a flywheel in that main housing.
Yeah, it's just a pulley system.
Yeah.
So it's the cylinder, the air cylinder that's all in the other units, there's just one on each side in that tower, and then the pulley's connected up to that. And then we've got extensions for it as well, so that anything that's up tall, we're not going to max out the pulley and potentially damage it or injure yourself. But we're using it at the moment for, because we've been doing a lot of banded plyometrics as well, but not in a Smith. So we've been doing like pogos and squat jumps and those sorts of things. And I've been primarily using it to prime and potentiate unloaded plyometrics, and in like a C series lift, and every athlete that's done it has just found tremendous improvement in their unloaded jumping in every session we've done. It's just absolutely. Oh, even today, you and I, it just feels like that
was the most springiest I've.
Yeah, it just feels like you're lighter, or the brakes are off, or it's just like you're cheating.
Yeah. Very exciting. I can't wait to see what your athletes do in the next 6-12 months. They've got Worlds coming up in September. It's going to be epic. Awesome. We'll leave it at that. If you want to follow more, you can check out Chris Dale. I think it's at Dr. Christopher Dale.
Dr.Christopher.Dale.
Keep the doctor in. And then, if you guys want to learn more about our workshop coming up, it's on the 30th of March in Melbourne. It's at my gym, and we're going to be talking about unlocking acceleration. You're going to be detailing all the work on the track, theory on the track, practical work. We're going to be doing some resisted work as well. And then we've got a gym component, which is going to detail all the S&C behind all of that, and how we can use the gym to influence what's happening on the field and on the track. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this YouTube video, and I will speak to you guys in the next one.